going on, guys? Thank you so very much for joining me right here on Off the Script. This is Off the Script Elites for your Tuesday, October 15th, 2019. And I think we could start washing that bad taste of Monday Night Raw out of our mouths, man. What a horrendous episode of Monday Night Raw. Good thing we have Wednesdays to look forward to, right? Imagine if we didn't have AEW after a show like we seen on Monday. You could even go back to Friday. That wasn't even a good episode of Smackdown Live. So imagine if we didn't have AEW. I got tons of AEW news. Well, not tons, but I got some pretty important pieces of information that I think you guys would be very interested in right here on the podcast. Jon Moxley stripped of the IWGP United States Championship. Now, I don't know why, but I have my assumptions as to why he was stripped of the IWGP United States Championship. AEW might not admit it, but I think that Jon Moxley was stripped for one very specific reason. We're going to go over that today on the podcast. Also, Moxley was interviewed this week. He feels like he was lying to his fans while he was in WWE via his promos. I could see why he would say that as well. AEW Dynamite this week is going to be big. This right now, as I look at the card, is the biggest week of AEW Dynamite. I can't wait to see what happens. And we got the continuation of the tag team title tournament. We're going to go over the card and the main events. A lot of people are wondering why Darby Allin is getting a world championship match. I got the reason why Darby Allin is getting a world championship match. I also have the reason why the Young Bucks lost against Private Party last Wednesday in the first round of the AEW Tag Team Title Tournament. Shad Khan, Tony Khan's father, came out and publicly stated that they are not competing with the WWE. Jay and Silent Bob, yes, that Jay and Silent Bob, banned from SmackDown Live, and AEW hires 2 announcers. Who are they? We're going to go over it today right here on the podcast, man. Thank you guys so much for joining me in what is week 3 of AEW on TNT and episode 3 of Off the Script Elite. If you missed anything from this past weekend, if you missed Monday Night Raw review, that is linked down below in the description of this very video. Please, if you guys got time or if you missed it, go and check it out. It was a very heated rant on Monday Night Raw, and I ranted on why there was even a WWE draft if WWE was going to blatantly ignore the rules of the exclusivity that comes with both Fox and USA Network executives getting involved, making separate brands and separate rosters. WWE seemingly just shit all over that concept. Very heated rant in the first 20 minutes of that, and we went over the show in depth as usual every single week. Make sure you guys go and check that out. And if you missed anything else that you might have missed at the end of last week with Smackdown Live, AEW Dynamite review from last week, and NXT, make sure you guys go and check all that stuff out. That will be linked down below in the description of this very video. Follow me on social media, man. It is imperative that you do so because not only is it a great way to tweet with me live during these shows, it's also a great way to keep up to date on when activities happening on the channel. At JD from NY206. That is on both Twitter and Instagram. Very easy for you guys to follow me. Very easy for you guys to find me as well. At JD from NY206. And if you guys enjoy what you see on the channel, if you enjoy what you hear and see right here on this podcast today, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button and turn on that bell for all notifications. And today, the podcast is brought to you by my fine friends over at Audible. audibletrial.com/offthescript. Audible is giving you guys, just for listening to me today, and every single time they support the podcast, Audible is giving every listener of Off the Script 30 days free and 1 free audiobook of your choice. Yes, 30 days free and a free audiobook just for signing up. Use our unique link. Go through the sign-up process. It is very simple. It is absolutely free. You will not be billed in the 30 days, and you get to choose one audiobook out of 200,000 different choices. The best part is, if you guys feel like Audible's not for you and you simply just want to support the podcast, you guys can sign up and cancel anytime in that 30 days and still get to keep your audiobook for free. Guys, it's simple. Use our link, audibletrial.com/offthescript. You know, you really got to appreciate what AEW is doing as far as delivering content. I want you guys to take a look at AEW Dark. Now, I haven't watched the show yet. I haven't watched AEW Dark. It was debuted, I believe, last week. And after what I heard the Young Bucks say on social media about the Kenny Omega and Joey Janela match that will be premiering tonight on YouTube, I might have to check it out. I also want to check out NWA Power. I have not done so yet. A lot of people are telling me that I should go out and watch it. Now, I did see a clip on Twitter of Eddie Kingston cutting a promo. I'm like, I have to watch this. I have to find some time and sit down and watch this. I have not done so yet, but that is something that I definitely want to do. But as far as AEW goes, you got to really appreciate the effort that they're putting forth as far as their content goes. AEW Dark, I believe, from people that I know that were watching, tweeting me and texting me personally, there were over 20,000 live viewers for the YouTube premiere of AEW Dark. That is impressive. That is very impressive. And if they continue doing those types of numbers, which I'm not surprised that they are, because the fan base of AEW is very invested in literally every aspect of their product, in turn, AEW is going to show the fans that they care. And they're going to continue producing content that is genuine, real, and of the quality that the fan base expects. So you got to respect and appreciate that they're not taking it as just, oh, it's another hour of content. If this was WWE and WWE had a show like AEW Dark, in fact, they do. It's 205 Live. Because that's all it is. It's fucking dark matches spawned off as the Cruiserweight division. WWE doesn't give a shit about that. It's just another hour of weekly television, and WWE puts zero effort into making anybody care. Nobody watches 205 Live. That's why you see the Cruiserweights going all over the place. Some of them got drafted to Monday Night Raw and Smackdown Live. The title itself, the Cruiserweight title, is now the NXT Cruiserweight Championship. It's going to be defended on NXT shows Wednesday, and it's going to be defended at TakeOver. WWE just doesn't care. So, just based on that aspect between the two companies, you got to respect what AEW is doing for their dark matches on YouTube. And they're really upping the quality, because not only are they giving you quality matches, but now they hired Dasha Fuentes. Yes, Dasha Bot. Dasha Android 7.0 is no longer in production. We got now Dasha Fuentes on AEW Dark. This is awesome. She was released from WWE, and I watched her interview with Chris Van Vliet, which I urge you guys to go out and watch. It was one of the better interviews that he's ever done, honestly. It was one of the most fun interviews I've seen Chris sit down and do. And the personality and charisma that was being suppressed by WWE as it concerns Dasha Fuentes was downright disgusting. This woman was so vibrant in everything that she did, and her mannerisms and her body language. She was unfazed by being terminated by WWE. I'm like, who is this person? Why didn't we see this on television? This was not the same person. I swear to God, they abducted the real Dasha Fuentes and really did put out a robot on WWE television. She was released from WWE. Fans were upset about this. Now she is doing just fine, and she got a job with AEW. Dasha Fuentes is now known as Dasha Gonzalez. She made her AEW debut in the Spanish language version of AEW Dark, and she joins their commentary booth. Dasha joined WWE in 2014, worked for NXT before being promoted to the WWE main roster. Then she was released in April of 2019. She's been training at Shawn Spears and Tyler Breeze's wrestling school as well. Gotta love it, man. She's invested. Gonzalez was also at hand as she sat next to Justin Roberts at ringside during several AEW pay-per-view events. AEW Dark debuts last week, and now it's one of those things that fans are clamoring to see every single week, every single Tuesday at 7 p.m. So I mentioned NWA Power. They go on the air on YouTube at 6:05 p.m. They're only an hour, so you can go right from NWA to AEW Dark. Man, Tuesdays has its own little Tuesday night block of pro wrestling on YouTube, which is the easiest way to consume content. And this entire concept, Dark, if you guys are not familiar with it, it's on the All Elite Wrestling YouTube channel. It is dark matches that are taped from the week prior. And this is awesome. It really is. This week should be a great match, as the Young Bucks say. Kenny Omega and Joey Janela, according to them, tore the house down. I have to see what that means, and it's pretty interesting that they're hyping up this match, because I don't really consider someone like Joey Janela to even be of the quality to share a ring with Kenny Omega. So I wonder what Kenny Omega is going to do, if he's going to work a different style, if he's going to get himself ready for what Jon Moxley is going to bring to the table at Full Gear. Going to be very interesting to see. Not only did Dasha Fuentes, a.k.a. Dasha Gonzalez, get signed to AEW, AEW this week, and this seems to be a one-time deal. We don't know what else is going on, or it could be something that leads to a more regular role, because I know he definitely wants to do something. I could definitely see him getting back into the swing of things. Don't really know why they did not bring him back for the 20th anniversary, which was promoted as such, and WWE ignored the 20th anniversary headlines. Why did they bring Tazz back as a special commentator? Because Michael Cole and Tazz on SmackDown Live way back when was a very formidable commentary duo, and they didn't bring him back. But Tazz is now a guest commentator this week for AEW Dark. Cody Rhodes revealed on social media last week that Tazz will be at the All Elite Wrestling TV tapings in Philadelphia. He will be sitting in on commentary for AEW Dark. That will tape today, or this week, I should say, Wednesday, and that you will see Tazz next week on AEW Dark. Tazz will be a guest commentator on AEW Dark. A lot of fans will be very excited to hear Tazz back on pro wrestling commentary. I want to see how he has, I guess, sat around, did his own thing, and now wants to jump back into the commentary booth, how he's really going to handle that and take to it. Maybe he picks up right where he left off. He was not bad in his role at all with what he did in WWE and even in TNA. Tazz, an ECW original, commentated SmackDown for years, like I said. He wasn't invited to the big 20th anniversary debut on Fox. He reportedly auditioned for a role on WWE Backstage as well. Tazz appearing on AEW television. Maybe this will help WWE reconsider who they turn away from this point on, because if WWE is in the mindset, and you know that they are, that they want to grab every possible name so that they don't go to AEW, or AEW doesn't have access to them, you know, maybe it's in their best interest to not turn away anybody. Tazz is a very notable name and a very, very good hand at commentary. So I'm surprised at that. I'm surprised they even turned them away for WWE Backstage, because he's always talking about the WWE product. He's always reviewing the WWE product on his podcast, and I can't wait to see what he does. That alone might get me to go out and spare some time to watch AEW Dark. I would love to see how he interacts with whoever's on commentary for that show, and I'd love to see where he goes as far as commentary for any wrestling promotion from here on out. So that's exciting. So guys, get ready for that AEW Dark tonight, Joey Janela and Kenny Omega. And then Wednesday, when they tape for the next week, Tazz will be on next week's AEW Dark. If there's one thing that I've been preaching that AEW needs to continue to do, It's that they need to continue to be consistent. I think they've done a great job at keeping your interest going from week 1 into week 2 and now, this week, into week 3. They need to continue that. They've done a very good job at building towards the pay-per-view. The pay-per-view itself is coming along very nicely. And when you look up and down this card for tomorrow's Dynamite, man, that consistency is like, holy shit. They are getting you excited. This is a loaded show for tomorrow's Dynamite. Now, last week, one of the big situations was Moxley with his match with Shawn Spears. After the match, Moxley and Omega had a stare down. He had, with him, Omega did, a barbed wire baseball bat that he willingly threw Jon Moxley, and they had a gunslinger-type standoff with a tumbleweed non-existent in the whole thing. They could have easily fucking CGI'd a tumbleweed in there. Could have been like an old gunslinger scene from an old Western. They just stood there staring each other down. See, I got it right this time. I couldn't think of it last week. They just stood there. Barbed wire baseball bat in Moxley's hand. A barbed wire broom, because he's the cleaner, in Kenny Omega's hand. And then out of nowhere, Pac comes from commentary because he was complaining about Darby Allin getting a title match. Don't blame him. And he blasted Omega in the back with a steel chair. Moxley threw the barbed wire baseball bat down. He didn't want any of Kenny Omega. Maybe he wasn't interested in fighting that night. Maybe he wanted to call his wife and have a good dinner and go home and relax. I don't know. So, stemming from that, we got Moxley and Pac, two heels. Well, I guess if you want to consider Moxley a heel, I don't consider him a heel. He's more of an in-betweener. But, being that there's issues here, you got Adam Hangman Page and Kenny Omega. They're part of the Elite. And you got Moxley and Pac. AEW's rolling this up into one big tag team match. That makes this match one of 3 tag team matches on tomorrow's AEW Dynamite, man. This is a loaded show. Not only with that star-studded tag team match, the Lucha Brothers, Pentagon and Phoenix, they will go and battle the Jurassic Express in the first round of the AEW Tag Team Title Tournament. And then SoCal Uncensored against the Best Friends in another tournament match. 3 tag team matches on tomorrow's show. Also, AEW's Women's World Title match, Britt Baker versus Riho, and then Darby Allin versus Chris Jericho in a Philadelphia street fight. And Jericho is bringing back the Painmaker for Philadelphia and this world title match. This is a loaded show, and I can't wait to see what they do. Now, this does not come without any criticism. I love that AEW is so focused on giving the best show possible. But I do think in between all of these great matches that we're about to see tomorrow night, there needs to be something that breaks it up in between, whether it's a promo, whether it's a backstage segment, something. I don't like, even though I am a big fan of what happens in the ring, I want AEW to think about breaking up the show. I don't want them to go from match to match to match to match to match. I don't want them to do that. I want a backstage segment. I want a promo package. I know they got Wardlow coming soon. They seemingly forgot about him. We haven't seen him or a video package since All Out. So I don't know what that means, but I would like to see some coming attractions for some new talent, or I'd like to see a video package hyping up someone else in the women's division right now that I think is very weak. I want to see something, a backstage promo, backstage skit with MJF. He could shit all over Dungeons and Dragons. I don't give a shit. Something in between all of this great stuff they're about to see tonight. I don't want them to go from match to match to match to match to match. It is not a good flow. So that's my only criticism as far as what they've done. And NXT has done the same thing. They've done the same thing. They're just throwing match after match after match after match because that's what they think that type of audience wants to see. I want to be invested in who I'm watching. Give me some video packages or give me a backstage interview or backstage segment. Something. So I hope that they break it up tomorrow on AEW Dynamite. Same thing goes for NXT at Full Sail. Now, Darby Allin. Darby Allin versus Chris Jericho, Philadelphia street fight, right up Darby Allin's wheelhouse. This is all Darby Allin. He's not going to win the world title, but I mentioned on last week's review why Darby Allin was more than likely in this situation. There's no better person to get him over than Chris Jericho. Darby Allin is on the cusp, if you ask me, of really breaking out in AEW. A lot of people, from what I gathered on social media, they look at Darby Allin and there's a lot of old school Jeff Hardy nuance there with Darby Allin. He's got that type of vibe. He's got that daredevil youngster type vibe. And a lot of people are gravitating towards that. He's a very likable babyface in AEW. They want to push that to the next level. They want to continue to help him grow. There's no better person to do that than Chris Jericho. So I think all the people right now that are shitting on why this match is happening and why Darby Allin's getting a world title match, I'm not really going to sit here and complain about it because I know why they're doing it. This is the same thing as to why Chris Jericho was given the AEW World Championship. A lot of people question AEW and why they gave Chris Jericho the AEW World Championship. This is one of those reasons. The promo last week was one of those reasons. It is a great business decision. Matt Jackson and Nick Jackson both had to come out and defend why they gave, or AEW, I should say, gave Chris Jericho the inaugural first ever AEW World Champion title. I don't understand it. I don't understand why it's so difficult for people to grasp such a simple concept and a simple decision. Darby Allin's getting a world title match next week for one reason and one reason only, says Dave Meltzer. It's to set up a television match, and it's just really there to get Darby Allin over and put Darby Allin in the ring with Jericho, with the idea that Jericho is going to make him while beating him. It's very simple, folks. So stop the bitching, stop the complaining. There are more important things to worry and complain about. Dave Meltzer goes on to continue and say this, and I quote, "Whether that happens or not, we'll have to wait and see, but obviously that is the idea and the mindset behind setting this match up." AEW is pushing stars. This is no different. This is what they need to do. This is the same reason why the Young Bucks lost to Private Party as the #1 seed in the tournament. The Young Bucks were the #1 seed in that AEW tournament. Private Party was given and gifted the #8 seed. Why did the Young Bucks lose? Because they don't need to win right now. And a lot of people are saying, oh, Cody's going to give himself the world title. Oh, the Young Bucks are going to give themselves the tag team title. Oh, Kenny Omega's going to give himself the world title. None of that has even come close to being anywhere near the truth to these people. It's all bullshit. They want to spew shit. They want to spew negativity without really understanding what's going on. All you need to do is watch the shows. If the Young Bucks wanted to be tag team champions, they would have beaten Private Party. The Young Bucks don't come off as greedy. They don't come off as, gimme, 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 gimme. I'm going to do this first before anybody else. There wouldn't be an AEW. AEW wouldn't have garnered the respect that it has right now if the Young Bucks put themselves in the finals of the tag team title tournament. AEW wouldn't have garnered the respect that they have if Kenny Omega was its first world champion or if Cody wins the world title at Full Gear. They are being selfless. This is what is needed to build new stars. This is why Darby Allin's in this match with Chris Jericho. They know there's no better person for Darby Allin to be in the ring with than Chris Jericho. And to make it seem all that much more important and put him over even more, because Jericho can work any style. He's done it. He's done it as of the past couple of years with Omega. He's putting him in a Philadelphia street fight. Jericho is not only putting the championship on the line to help get him over, but he's working the style of match that he doesn't have to. He's working the style of match that Darby Allin could even look greater in. So how is this a bad thing? How is this a bad thing at all? I think everybody needs to calm down. That's why Darby Allin is in this match. It was originally set to be a singles match. Now it's going to be a Philadelphia street fight. I can't really say anything bad about that whatsoever. I can't sit here and say, oh, the Young Bucks should have beaten Private Party. They made Private Party in 20 minutes last week. Private Party was already over. Private Party now is on that rocket ship to fucking superstardom because of what happened last week. Everybody said the same thing about that match. Phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. Flips, dives, go fuck yourself. Flips, dives, fucking acrobatics. I don't know what you want. The Young Bucks showed you a tag team match. Private Party worked a match with the Young Bucks to their strength. That match was every bit of a tag team match that you could have ever wanted. It was slow and methodical. It picked up, went back to being slow and methodical. High risk spots, high offensive spots, big time spots. And it came down to the end. And Private Party won. What else do you want? And Private Party went over. That's the most important thing. The Bucks lost to Private Party because Meltzer, just like Darby Allin, the Young Bucks in almost every big match they've had since this company got started, they've wanted to lose. The Young Bucks have wanted to lose. Not because they're not allowed to lose, because Tony Khan has the final say, but they went to Tony and said, we want to lose. How can you not respect that type of mentality? AEW is not going to be successful with just those 5 men. It's not going to be successful with the Elite. They understand this. You have to respect that. You have to appreciate it. They're putting everybody else on that roster ahead of their needs to get this brand as a whole over. If you shit on that, I don't know. You might be really the dumbest person I think I've ever spoken to. I love it. And I can't really sit here and argue anything that's going on. I think it's absolutely a necessity and the best for AEW's growth going on into the future. They're even fixing logic gaps from the debut episode. And again, I appreciate them making a mistake. We call them out on it, and now they're fixing it. Dave Meltzer also explained during Wrestling Observer Radio that they really tried to make sure that the referee in that main event last week was distracted. That way the official didn't see the actions that should normally cause a disqualification. Now, it didn't come off good. It looked like the referee seen what Jake Hager was doing, but the referee at least was distracted by Sammy Guevara in that match. To make sure the referee wasn't looking, they learned from last week. The new tactic was noticeable during the Moxley and Shawn Spears match because whenever Tully Blanchard would make a move, also this one as well, whenever Tully Blanchard would make a move to put a situation on Moxley where he was going to interfere, the referee wasn't looking. So this is vastly different than what we've seen from the previous week as the referee stood by and watched several actions take place, weapons, and then Moxley with the outside interference coming on in the match, taking Omega out of the match, and then DDTing him through a glass table. A lot of people bitched and moaned about that. Oh, if it was WWE, you'd shit all over it. First of all, it's AEW's first show, and secondly, I don't think the referee wants to stand there in the ring on AEW's debut episode and wave the flag of DQ. He was very lenient. All we needed was the commentary team to relay that type of message. Then everybody would have been okay with it. It's their first week in. Mistakes are going to happen. WWE's been around how many years? Monday Night Raw's been on the air for 27 years. They make mistakes every single week. Those don't go unnoticed. They need to be called out on because you think that the WWE would know better. And they don't. They don't know anything. So they're trying to fix the logic gaps from the past weeks on Dynamite. What I wish that they would fix is all this WWE talk and all this sheep shotting that's going around, but it's in the spirit of competition. Shad Khan, the man with the money, the man with the bankroll, with the checkbook, he's come out and said, this is Tony Khan's father, and I quote, "We are not competing with the WWE." He joined Yahoo Finance's All Markets Summit, General Opportunities, to talk about the future of sports ownership and AEW. And this, like I said, is Tony Khan's father. It all started with my son Tony, he says. It was his idea, his passion, his drive as a lifelong wrestling fan. So I've supported him financially. He kept talking about it, that we ought to do it. And here are the reasons why we should do it. I kept stress testing the idea, and then I struck a check to fund it, because if you're going to do it, it's got to be right. That was the most important thing. You don't get a second chance to make a first impression. But his idea, his passion, his drive, it's off to a great start. I can't really argue that either. You know, I love the fact that he said you don't get a second chance to make a first impression. And WWE has come out under the new season premiere moniker, changing Monday Night Raw and all these aspects of Monday Night Raw, yet underneath, it's the same show. They came out trying to make a great first impression in the season premiere and have yet to give me a great impression of the show in this new season. Same thing with SmackDown Live or SmackDown on Friday night. What type of impression did they make? A first impression on Fox. Not one that impressed me. I thought it was complete garbage. And then Friday's show, the second weekend, was also garbage as well. Just as much as the first week. AEW, they came out swinging on week one. They made a great first impression. Everybody loved the show. Everybody loved the second show. Everybody's going to love the third show because they're not deviating away from what is most important. They're worrying about what they have to do on television to make their quality as great as it can be. And they're progressing storylines. As long as the logic and the consistency is there, so will the fan base. People will pick up on that. People will pick up on that. The premiere episode of AEW Dynamite on October 2nd averaged 1.4 million total viewers. That is according to the Nielsen ratings. AEW beat out NXT, which pulled an average of 891,000 total viewers during the same time slot. Khan tells Yahoo Finance that AEW is focusing on building its brand more so than competing with the WWE. He says this, and I quote, WWE is a great company, but we are not here competing with them. In the golden age of wrestling during the late 90s, there were 10 million fans. It's now down to 2 million. So we're tapping into fans who were not engaged and, quite frankly, the younger fan who never got into it. Competition is good for everybody, but it's very important for AEW to do its own thing. Again, he knows. He knows. And I love that mindset. Worry about what you're doing. The fans will come. Worry about what you're doing. That's how I built what I have here. Worry about what I'm doing. Continue putting out the quality that I know you guys expect. And put out the quality that I'm proud of. Not worrying about anything else in the community. And you will grow. Everybody asks me. Even when I do a meet and greet or I meet someone out in public at a convention. Or whether I get an email. People always ask me, JD, what do I have to do to start a podcast? What do I got to do to gain an audience? How can I be like you? How can I do what you do? Because I love wrestling just as much as everybody else in the community. Put yourself out there. Worry about you. Use your voice and show everybody how passionate you are about what you're doing. Guarantee you, people will come. That's what I did. And I didn't look back. AEW is doing the same thing. It's very difficult for anybody watching me or watching AEW to not be a fan and be supportive of what they're doing. They're worrying about themselves. Yeah, there's going to be cheap shots. Yeah, there's going to be juvenile remarks. But that's what comes with the territory. You're going head-to-head with WWE on their day. NXT's been on Wednesday for years. It's natural that there's going to be cheap shots going back and forth. Case in point with Jericho making a pipe bomb comment during his promo, which was probably one of the best promos of the entire year. Shit like that is going to be there. But Shad Khan says we are worrying about ourselves and we are worrying about grabbing that fan, that lapsed fan that is disenfranchised with the product, and we're worrying about taking a fan who might not be into pro wrestling, and we want to grab that fan and make them into a fan with what we're producing now. The younger fan. You got to respect that mentality, man. Can't go wrong with what he said here. Jay and Silent Bob, they got banned from Smackdown. They were supposed to be on Friday Night Smackdown. And if you guys watched AEW on week one, they were there, front row, interviewed by Chris Van Vliet about their upcoming Jay and Silent Bob movie. And they were there promoting the movie. Very harmless, very innocent. And they were invited because Chris Jericho is in the movie and he plays a villain in the new movie. Kevin Smith and Jason Mewes, who play both Jay and Silent Bob, were front row as special guests of Chris Jericho. It turns out that they revealed they were also invited to the debut on Fox for Friday Night Smackdown, but clearly if you watch the show, they were not there. This is according to Kevin Smith, because following their appearance on AEW, he says that they were called the next morning and WWE had canceled their appearance and they said, we don't need you. You are no longer needed for Friday Night Smackdown. But WWE wants to cite that AEW is not competition. I don't get it. I really don't understand it. So, with everything else that's going on, everything else that WWE is done in light of the AEW effect, you mean to tell me that this doesn't fall into the category of the AEW effect? They're on AEW, and then just out of nowhere, WWE calls them up and says, you know what? We're not going to need you today. No longer needed on SmackDown for the Fox debut. Yeah, but AEW is just harmless, right? You want to congratulate AEW on a ratings win. It's a marathon and not a sprint, right? Yeah, congratulations to AEW. Poor Jay and Silent Bob, man. Who gives a shit? Who really gives a shit? If you're going to go watch the movie, you're going to go watch it because you want to go and watch it. They don't need SmackDown. And it's just funny how WWE wants to brag that they're very gracious and they're very humble and AEW is not competition, and you hear reports that people in Stamford, Connecticut are citing that AEW is not competition. If they were competition, then you'd let Jason Mewes and Kevin Smith go to SmackDown Live and promote the movie. I just find it to be laughable. It is what it is, man. Jay and Silent Bob banned from SmackDown Live, and it won't be the first time that this happens. Yes, I do have hair underneath the hat, because I know you're questioning, oh, look, JD's got hair. Yeah, I know. Finally, guys, we're going to talk about Jon Moxley. Jon Moxley stripped of the IWGP United States Championship. He was stripped of the championship after being unable to make his scheduled title defense at New Japan Pro Wrestling's King of Pro Wrestling events. The typhoon in Japan made it impossible for Moxley to make the event. Zack Sabre Jr. was also affected by the typhoon and was unable to make it out to the King of Pro Wrestling event. Jon Moxley was scheduled to defend his championship against former champion Juice Robinson. Now, their first match was great. I believe Juice got a match in the G1 Climax and got his win over Jon Moxley, but the initial title defense where Juice lost that title to Moxley was a very good match. With Moxley now stripped of the championship at this time, they did have a match with Juice Robinson and Lance Archer, in which Lance Archer is now the new IWGP United States Champion. Lance Archer defeated Juice Robinson. He's the new champion. This is Archer's first singles championship in New Japan Pro Wrestling. The match was originally supposed to be Juice Robinson challenging Moxley for the title, but due to Moxley being unable to make it to Japan because of this natural disaster, he was stripped of the championship. Archer was entered into the title match as a replacement. The match was contested under a no disqualification rule, and both men took full advantage of this stipulation. Archer chokeslammed Juice through a table. Juice hit a cannonball through a table, and Archer delivered a blackout on a pile of chairs. Ultimately, Archer locked in the EBD claw and pinned Robinson to win the title and the match. After the match, David Finlay made his return to save Robinson. Finlay had been recovering from an injury for most of 2019. Now, I understand that a lot of people are insinuating that Moxley was stripped of the championship because he is an AEW contracted performer, and now that they have weekly television on TNT, there's no working agreement with AEW and New Japan Pro Wrestling, or what I've also read, that AEW doesn't want to put Jon Moxley in a situation where he's pinned, because ultimately he would have to drop that title to Juice Robinson anyway. Don't see the big deal being that it's happening over in Japan. Don't see the big deal about that, but I do understand why AEW would not want to see him lose, but he's already lost. He's already lost. He lost in the G1. He started the G1 hot, and then he went on a losing streak. So I don't think it's that. I think people are really jumping to conclusions. I do think that more so the fact that he's on national television with TNT, and now when they made their debut on TNT, all of the talent that's working with AEW is a little bit more exclusive right now. I think Jon Moxley, if he wanted to work Japan, I think AEW would allow him to. But I don't think they're going to allow him right now. He's got a big match with Omega coming up. The match was already ruined the first time. They don't want it to happen again. God forbid he gets hurt again, and this match that is scheduled to go on is going to be ruined again and canceled again. I think people are jumping to conclusions. Now, I read somewhere that New Japan more than likely would have stripped him anyway, being that he didn't defend the title in 60 days. They got a 60-day clause per rules. If you don't defend your title, you're stripped of it. He was hurt, legitimately, and the typhoon happened. Who knows when he was going to go back over there or get a chance to go back over there and work New Japan Pro Wrestling. He was stripped of the championship due to a weather condition. It is not that far out there to think, well, a natural disaster is happening and I can't make the flight over there, so it is what it is. Jon Moxley wanted to work Japan. He got to do that when he left WWE. He became the IWGP United States Championship, and he got a taste of what it is to work in Japan. He missed out on doing shit like that while working with the WWE. People are jumping to conclusions. It is what it is, folks. It's a weather fucking just situation where they stripped him of the championship. I don't know what else to say. I really don't know what else to say. If Jon Moxley was scheduled to take the championship into Wrestle Kingdom, I do think that AEW would allow him to go wrestle at Wrestle Kingdom in Japan. As long as he's not holding an AEW championship, because there's no working agreement. Now, the thing is, that I could have seen happening. The thing is, Jericho, I believe, the match is official with Hiroshi Tanahashi. I think that match is official for Wrestle Kingdom. If you think that Jericho is going to be in this same boat, if you think Jericho is taking the AEW championship into Wrestle Kingdom in a match against Tanahashi, you're mental. Unless there's somehow a working agreement with AEW and New Japan, it's not happening. Which means Jericho, more than likely, from the time Full Gear ends, all the way till January 4th, that time in between both of those shows, Jericho more than likely is losing that title on TNT, on Dynamite, to whomever. Don't know who it's going to be. Could be Pac. Could be Omega. I don't know. I don't really give a shit at this point. I'm here for the ride. Moxley is not a champion in AEW. Moxley was a New Japan United States champion. It's more than likely he would have gone over there, or they would have allowed him to go over there and wrestle. It's not the same situation with Jericho. Jericho's got a match, a big match coming up with Tanahashi, and he's the AEW World Champion. If you don't think that Tony Khan is taking that belt off of him before he goes to New Japan without a working agreement with AEW and New Japan, you're a fool. It's not. I would be shocked if he goes into that show as the AEW World Champion. Now, I don't know why AEW is not working with New Japan. It's almost inevitable. This Ring of Honor deal, New Japan wants to be honorable and do the right thing with Ring of Honor. They want to work this thing out. They want to go through it until the contract is over. When it is over, I don't know when it is, but when it is over, New Japan is going to be in a working agreement with AEW. I just don't see why they wouldn't. New Japan has been wanting to break into the United States for months now. How are you going to do that? You're going to do that with Ring of Honor? Ring of Honor is dead. Ring of Honor is dead. They're performing in front of 300-400 people. There is nothing there. They are a dead promotion. So when that contract and that working agreement is up, then in comes New Japan and AEW. They want to work the United States. They want to get in with the United States crowd. AEW's here. Can you imagine Okada on TNT? Can you imagine Tanahashi on TNT? Can you imagine Ibushi on TNT? My goodness, man. You want AEW to start competing with WWE as a whole? Wait till that happens. We'll see what happens with that. But Moxley was stripped of the IWGP United States Championship. People are jumping to conclusions. Omega even said, I guess the weather is on our payroll too. People always complain, and they always jump to conclusions. So there you go. So the weather caused it, and then the 60 days in their title defense clause, I guess, he wasn't going to make it. Because he's got a match with Omega coming up. He's got to get ready for that. He can't be worrying about Juice Robinson and Lance Archer and David Finlay. Who gives a shit? Take the title. It's not like he's not going to be back over there anyway. Stop jumping to conclusions, please. It's not that big of a deal. And it more so has to do with the weather and mixed a little bit with the fact that he's exclusive now to TNT. Just leave it as it is, folks. It's not that big of a deal. You will sleep fine at night knowing that Jon Moxley is not the United States champion in New Japan. Moxley feels like he was lying to his fans. I had to pull this because it's funny to see Seth Rollins defend the WWE product on social media. I gotta understand. I gotta try and understand Rollins and where he's coming from, and the fact that he's a WWE guy and he's the face of the company, or he thinks he's the face of the company. He's gotta just go out there and vehemently defend them in every which way. I get it. I understand it. I'm trying to understand where he's coming from, but the way he comes off, he looks like a fucking idiot when he does it. Everything that he says is a blatant lie. Because we know it's not the way he's making it out to be. Stop justifying that they're wrong. Moxley comes out and says this with Still Real to Us. He admitted that he felt he was lying to his fans in his promo work for WWE. I think since I've left WWE, I don't think I've been told no once. Usually they say, do whatever you want to do. For instance, with Joey Janela at Fyter Fest, at first I was like, okay, cool. We'll do some nutty stuff. I thought we would be somewhere in the middle of the card. Then I realized that we were going to be in the main event. Once I started learning more about Joey Janela and what he means to the deathmatch scene, I realized this was a dream match. Now we're in the main event. I realized the expectations are so high. I told management, you realize just by putting my name with Joey's together, you've created an expectation for insanity. Anything less than balls out would be a disappointment, and I'm not going to be in the business of disappointing fans anymore. How could you not respect him just based on that statement alone? I had to do that for years. When I had these stupid scripts, I'd have to say stuff like, I'm going to eviscerate your skull at Hell in a Cell. It's like, no, I'm not. I know I'm not. And I know there's not going to be any blood. I'm lying. I'm lying to the fans. I'm selling this violence that is just not going to happen in the company. He went on to explain how much more creative freedom he now has in AEW compared to WWE. He says this, and I quote, I haven't had to shoot down any bad ideas from anybody, which is great, because, you know, I used to go to TV, and it's like starting in a hole. I think, how bad is it? Oh, God, maybe if we could make this crap passable, it would be a victory. Everything so far is great. It's almost too good to be true, but it's so simple. We've got, no pun intended, some of the most elite wrestlers in the world. All guys who are veterans, in their primes, with huge fan bases. They understand their fan bases. We know what's good and we know what's not. We don't need writers or producers or anything like that. We know what we are doing. We've got myself, Jericho, Kenny, Cody, the Bucks, Pac, Spears. We're all at the top. If we wanted to be in WWE right now, we could and make huge money. Any one of us. We're all actively choosing to do this instead. There you go, Seth. That's how you fucking release a statement, and that's how you conduct yourself as a face of a company. Stop sucking in the corporate dick and coming off like a fucking idiot. Someone call Becky and have Becky take his phone away from him, because every time he has the phone in his hand, he makes himself look like a less credible champion by the week. Gotta love it. Guys, I'm getting out of here. Thank you so much for yet another great week of AEW right here on Off the Script Elite. If you guys enjoyed this podcast, hit that thumbs up. Follow me on social media. And make sure you guys check out all the other videos that you might have missed this past weekend with Off the Script, Friday Night Smackdown, last week's AEW Dynamite, NXT, and, as of last night, Monday Night Raw. Leave me a comment down below, and I will see you guys right back here, as always, Wednesday night for the review of AEW Dynamite Week 3. Until then, guys, have a great Tuesday, and I'll see you right back here for Wednesday Night Dynamite.